I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, where liberty and justice for all. Announcement of the Sunshine Law. In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, it is hereby announced and shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the following: posted on the bulletin board of the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin boards within the municipal complex, printed in the Home News Tribune and Cranberry Press on December 26, 2025, posted on the Monroe Township website, and sent to those individuals who have requested personal notice. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Masters? Here. Mr. Lupo? Here. Mr. Busman?
Here.
Ms. Caratori? Here. Mr. Tanzi?
Here.
Mr. Jaffe?
Here.
Mr. Cole? Mr. Jadis?
Here.
Mr. Vigani? Ms. Bitterman? Here. Chairman LaFada?
Here, thank you. Okay, board members, we have minutes from our regular meeting of April 28th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Stay.
Gary Busman abstained. Okay, first application, BA 5240-23, Tilex Realty LLC, represented by Mr. Toto.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Walter Toto on behalf of Talex Realty. Can everyone, is this picking me up? Okay. Okay, terrific. Again, good evening. Nice to see everyone again. Walter Toto on behalf of Talex Realty. This has been known in the Planning and Zoning Office as the hot dog trailer application for quite some time. But the property that the trailer is on works in conjunction with a number of other lots, specifically lots 19, 20, 21, and 22 in Block 166. Now, they have a frontage on three different roads. One is Morton Avenue, one is Spotswood Englishtown Road, which is where the hot dog trailer is located, and on Fernhead. With regard to, I just want to explain the uses that are happening on the current site, many of which have been on site for several decades. But as far as the hot dog stand or the mobile food trailer is concerned, that's on lot 22. If you check out the survey, typically when I'm here, of course, and when any other attorney is here, they have a site plan that an engineer would present. We don't have that. We're sort of on a bit of a budget with this application, but we did submit the survey, which includes all the uses on the property, all the improvements, and it shows the parking. So lot 22 contains the food trailer. We'll call it the mobile food trailer, but it also contains an embroidery shop. It's an embroidery / signage / printing shop that's been out there for quite some time. I think they were issued a tenancy review about 15 years ago on that same property, same lot, which is lot 20, lot 22. There's a single family residence, and the tenant within that residence is the owner of the embroidery and signage shop. On lots 19 and 20, those are to the sort of the right and to the top of the survey. That front on Fernhead, that's a sort of an undefined parking lot that serves lot 21. Now, lot 21 has actually two distinct buildings. It looks like one, but one is a food manufacturer that received a tenancy review approval. I think that it's Cartvelli is the name of the company. They received a tenancy review, I think back in 2006. And then there's a four dwelling unit apartment building, so to speak, that's adjacent, but it's in a separate building, of course. And that use has been out there for a couple of decades at least. And that represents the uses on the subject property. But tonight I'm here solely for use variance relief to have the board hopefully and respectfully approve the mobile food trailer owned by Bill Parente, who is the principal of Talex Realty. There are a number of D variances, which is why we're here, because of several principal uses on these properties. There are multiple uses on these properties. Again, it's sort of a tight squeeze, and this property has been working. The lots sort of work together, the traffic works together, which is somewhat de minimis, and it has worked like this for several decades. But we're here to clean things up and finally get this board's approval, again, respectfully and hopefully by the end of the evening. I have Mr. Parente, who is the principal of Talex, here to testify, and I have Mark Remza as our project planner. We're not seeking site plan this evening, so we don't have an engineer. Again, it's only Mr. Parente and Mr. Remza. So without further ado, I'd like to call up Mr. Parente. Bill, if you would. Oh, and Peter, being presumptuous, I provided an affidavit of service and...
You can be presumptuous with respect to that. If you hadn't properly noticed, I wouldn't let you start. But I will say for the record, I did review the affidavits of mailing and publication, and the board does have jurisdiction to hear the application.
Thank you, Mr. Vignolo. I appreciate
Parente,
it.
just slide that microphone over, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Parente. If you could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
William Parente, Parente, residing at 7 Cleveland Avenue, Monroe.
Bill, what is your relationship to the applicant Talex Realty LLC?
The LLC is under my name, so I'm the owner of the LLC.
And you're the sole member of the LLC? Okay.
Yes.
Want to get that?
I got it. I
Okay.
take care of it. Yeah. Go ahead, I'm listening.
You can hold it if you like.
Yeah, it's fine.
And Bill, when did you purchase the lots that make up this application? Again, lots 19 through 22 in Block 166.
It had to be about 5 years ago during COVID.
Okay. And when you first decided to operate the food trailer on the subject property, did you apply for a zoning permit?
I did, and I was approved.
Okay. It was only for a limited period, though, the permit that was issued, correct?
They asked me, and I told them I'd probably be there no more than like 1,250 hours a year. I'd probably be a little seasonal, depending on the weather, but 1,250 hours a year was going to be, 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week.
Okay, but at some point, with further planning review, it was realized that this was another use on the property. Not only were there multiple uses on the same lot, there were some encroachments within the front yard setback. So we realized that we had to come before the board and seek the board's approval, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about the mobile food trailer. Currently, is it used for food storage or food preparation or both?
Well, no. Since they rescinded my approval, I've only used it as like a storage facility. So at the hot dog stand, I do have canned goods. I'll have a bag of onions. I'll have a couple of cases of sabret onions. I keep all that shelf stable. It's inside on a shelf. I'll keep plastic forks, spoons. I'll keep napkins, paper plates, anything I use at the stand. So even though I haven't been able to work out of it, I pull out my cart. It's been convenient at least to have it on hand.
Okay. Describe the trailer, Bill. What type of trailer are we talking about?
So once I was approved, I then went out and purchased this trailer. I have receipts and paperwork. It is what they classify. Okay, so I called up Department of Consumer Affairs, and DCA said to me, in the state of New Jersey, you can only use a shipping container for shipping unless it's AC 462 certified. The container they used for my build, it was built out with special doors and it had an access like a walk-up window. That is AC 462 certified. In the state of New York, you could build a house with it if you wanted to.
But certainly not in Monroe.
Correct, right, that we found out. So I did spend the extra money. It's like double the price or triple the price, thinking I was doing the right thing. It's also what they call an F-coated type container. When it was originally used, it was used to transport food. So they used that container, certified as, and it's got to be certified AC 462 when it was built. It's not like somebody looks it over and says, I'm going to make it AC 462. It comes that way. And that is an AC, and I have document to show it's an AC 462
So
container.
the point is it meets the high government
It
standards.
meets the
for a
highest
trailer.
in a storage container.
And Bill, what type of food do you sell?
We sell hot dogs with sauerkraut, onions, relish, all the toppings. I've made hamburgers, and I've done some sausage and peppers, but it's small finger food, small quick items.
And what are your hours and days of operation currently?
So since they rescinded on the approval, I'm really just there Friday and Saturday from 11 to 5. Clean up.
And again, that approval was limited, but let's
Yes.
talk about what you'd propose your hours and days of operation to be.
I would like to know, honestly, if I'm approved, I'm going to treat it like my concession stand, that I can go there. I mean, I'm not going to listen, I'm semi-retired. I'm not going to be there 80 hours a week. If I wanted to be there 20 hours one week, or I want to be there 30 or 40, I'd like to know there's no time restraint or limit to when I could be there.
But we need to provide the board with a range.
Okay. I would say, you want to say 1,500 hours a year?
Well, how about like 10 to 6, noon
I don't
to...
have really set hours, but if you gave me like a 30-hour per week window, I think that's sufficient. That would be appropriate. That would be about 1,500 hours. And if it had to be less or more, you tell me.
It's a little tougher for the board and for the zoning office to navigate through that and enforce that type of broad number. I think we need to give the board, as we've discussed, a range as far as a range of hours.
I find
12 to 5,
I
12 to
find
6.
myself now usually there from like 11 to 5.
Okay.
2-3 days a week.
And so would we say, are you there on the weekends?
Right now, Friday and Saturday for the last 2 years.
So
Friday
no
and Saturday.
Sundays?
No.
Okay. So you
Would I want to be there? Maybe. If I was approved, then maybe. See, if you're inside, you could work there. If it's raining or snowing, I could be in there. Right now, I'm on the street at my hot dog cart. I roll the cart out to the street. I'm working in the elements. If it's raining out, I'm not going to be there.
Okay, we'll get back to that because I think we do need to pin down an actual number of days because typically when we're before the board needs to know, and they don't give us this information. We give it to the board to review and or approve or deny the days per week and the hours.
Okay.
All right. So if you're at 11 to 5, you said?
Yes.
All right. Then we would need to say Tuesday to Sunday.
That would be fine.
Okay. Okay. And Bill, right now, so what times of the year do you operate now?
So I've only been there from the beginning of the season, which is usually around beginning of April, and I usually end up around the end of November, around Thanksgiving. Once it gets too cold, I can't be out there.
Okay. Who uses the 5 parking spaces that are shown on the survey adjacent to the mobile food trailer?
So I never really had those parking spaces marked out specifically, but the tenants in the 4-family building, 307, those spots are closest to their door. And since the sticker chick at 303 Spotswood Englishtown Road, she don't really have people coming. She's not doing retail, so she don't really need parking. So the tenants in the 4-family, there's probably around 5 or 6 cars amongst them. There is about 7 or 8 spots there. They know they can utilize those spots.
But they also use these spaces on lots 19.
In the back of the building, they can if they want. Carvelli might use those more,
Okay. So now when someone comes operationally, how does someone pull in and stop and then purchase from you and then leave?
So 307, 309, I call it Mid-State Meats because that's what it was for years. It has a big driveway. A lot of my customers, some of them pull in and it's curbside delivery. I bring it right out to them, Otherwise, they'll get out of their car for a minute. They'll grab their hot dog. They'll grab a soda, take some napkins. They jump back in their car and they continue around the back of the building.
Okay.
I never let anybody back up onto Spotswood Englishtown Road.
Yeah,
They
so-
continue driving through and they come out on Fernhead.
Understood. So we're going, per the planner's report, we're going to have to memorialize, if the board approves, a cross-access easement
Okay.
among the lots to show that there's a one-way. People are pulling in from Spotswood Englishtown. It's one way, and they're leaving via Fernhead.
Yes.
So there's egress onto
Correct.
Fernhead. Okay.
And I just want to add, in 3 years, right, 2.5 waiting for this meeting, we've never had an issue there. We've never had any issues with the police department, accidents, the traffic. There's no traffic backups. It works well.
Bill, did you propose any employees at the site?
No, it's a one-man show.
And you said there's no retail at the embroidery or a sign shop, correct?
Correct. I
And
just
the-
want
and
to
the
correct
fruit-
you on one question. If I'm sick one day and my daughter says, Dad, could I go work the stand? I might let her go work there, but nobody's on payroll. She's just going to fill in
Understood.
for me.
Okay. And there's no retail at the food
Not at all.
preparation company?
No.
Okay. And that's at 307 Spotswood Englishtown.
That's at 30. The food Carvelli is 309.
309. 307 is the
Yeah, they're
residence.
wholesale. They're USDA approved.
Okay. And Bill, how do you propose to handle trash and recycling?
So we have an 8-yard dumpster on the property, which I pay for along with Carvelli. They pick up at least once a week, sometimes twice.
Okay.
We've never had it overflow. We've never had a rodent problem on the property. Everything seems to be working very smoothly. Listen, I live in the neighborhood. I'm a resident of Monroe. I drive by and I look at that property. I want to be proud of what I have there. If anybody looks at old photos and looks at the current photos, you're going to see I put a lot of money in on that block. If I didn't care about the way things look and the way I operate, it wouldn't look the way it looks, and I wouldn't care about the trash.
Understood. Bill, what about, last question, what about, at least for me, what's your proposal for security for the trailer, if any?
This is Monroe, not Flatbush, Brooklyn, so I really didn't think about much security. It's locked. If they really need to break in and get a pack of hot dogs, let them have it. I don't think I'm going to put an alarm system in there.
All right, fair enough, Bill. That's an honest answer. Nothing further from Mr. Parenti, Mr. Chairman.
You know, these are, let's not forget, these are like $4 hot dogs. When I started, they were $3. So if somebody comes to rob me for the $150, take the money. I'll give you a free hot dog while you're at it.
I may take you up on that, Bill. Mr. Rebza. Unless the board has questions of Mr. Parenti right now. Sure.
Let's get you professional.
You got it. All right.
Mr. Remsen, do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please, for the record.
Yes. Good evening. Mark A. Remsa, R-E-M-S-A. Address is 10 Dewberry Court, Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
We'll accept Mark's credentials.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just for the record, Mr. Remsen, since last you appeared and so qualified as an expert in the area of professional planning, have your credentials been detrimentally affected at all?
They have not.
And your license is still valid and in good standing?
It is.
Super duper.
Okay, Mark, explain for the board what you did to prepare for tonight and your planning testimony thereafter.
Yes. Good evening. I visited the site, actually visited several times, reviewed the zoning ordinance and master plan. I also spent some time with Bill to learn about his proposed hot dog operation. And so doing all of that, I was able to come together with a outline to provide you with the legal proofs for the use variance. So just so it's clear that the property is in the NC zone. However, the one property, which is also lots, I believe it's 19 and 20, that's the back portion of the one that fronts along Fernbrook. So, Fernhead, excuse me.
Go ahead, yes.
That is actually in a residential zone. It's always been there. It's in the R 7.5 zone, and it's just parking. It's parking. It's a split zone. It's parking for the larger building with the apartments and the food preparation company. Also, I want to make it clear that the proposal is for a container. It's not a trailer. It's actually a container, as Bill so aptly described on how it was manufactured. So it's actually a container of the highest standard for food preparation on the site. So it doesn't have wheels. It doesn't go around. The only way it's portable is if you had one of those large machines that picked it up and put it on a chassis. So in terms of what's around the property, that's also important to understand. So that to the north, across Morton Avenue, is a restaurant. It's Ryan's Pub and Sports Bar. To the east, there are single-family homes on the 7,500 square feet and smaller lots. To the south, there's medical offices across Fernhead. And then to the west, across Spotswood Englishtown Road, there's a collection of commercial uses. Hair salon, there's some automobile repair. Farther down is House of Worship. And then when I was there were some vacant stores as well. So it's definitely a commercial corridor along Spotswood Englishtown Road. So you heard the proposal. That's to have Tuesday to Sunday with the hours of 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. For the hot dog stand. And so the hot dog stand is actually aligned with the existing embroidery building. It was designed so that the facades pretty much align up, and the coloring of the container also matches the color of the facade of the embroidery building. And so it's difficult to develop the sense of what the parking demand for this is because the container is so small. But we have the 5 spaces that if you were to drive off of Spotswood Englishtown Road, they're angled. All the pavement is there. Just need to have some of the striping, and so that the patrons would come in, drive, park, and then they would walk and get their hot dogs or whatever food, drive around the back, and then leave, just as the property operates today. So in terms of the variances, there's the commercial use with the residential use. So there's a use variance required for the mixing of all these uses. So it's section 108-1617A, and that's the NC zone, and then you have 108-6.11A. That's the commercial zone. I'm sorry, the residential zone. We need to validate that we've got the parking for the commercial uses on those 2 residential lots, residentially zoned lots. In terms of the proofs, the legal proofs, the positive criteria, I believe there are special reasons for this. NJSA 40:55D-2. I'm going to give you the small letter. I'm going to paraphrase the purpose of the municipal land use law that I believe that this application is promoting, and then I'll give you some of the reasons why. So the first one I see is a G, and that's to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses. In this instance, we have a commercial use that's being added to the NC zone. Lot 22 has had a long history of commercial use and residential use, quite honestly. And then also the additional seasonal hot dog stand. Actually, the selling of hot dogs, if it was by itself, is actually permitted in the NC zone. It's just that we have this mix of some residential, because we have the house on lot 22 with the embroidery. And by the way, I did go back and try to find out when all that was built, and the house and the embroidery, the building was built in 1954. And I was able to find that out on the the Middlesex County website for property tax information. I could not find when the other buildings were built, the larger buildings, but they've been renovated on the outside, so I'm not quite sure. But I do know that they've been there, at least when I first came to Monroe back in '95. The buildings have been there in not such good condition as they are today. So the next one is I, to promote a desirable visual environment. So the hot dog stand, the addition of this stand, it's unique. Actually, the coloring and the facade of the hot dog stand actually blend in with the existing embroidery building. Also, it's very small in scale. I believe in Chris's report, actually, he shows a photograph on the second page, and that actually does justice, because it shows how you have the two tables out front and the addition. It almost looks like there's an addition to the building. So I believe that it has a good, positive visual environment. Next one is J. That's to prevent urban sprawl. And so actually we're utilizing the property that's already been developed. We're adding or have added a small concrete pad on which that container sits. And so I think it utilizes the property well. The circulation works well. So in that sense, I think that it is the proper use of that land. Next one is M. M is to provide the more efficient use of land. So again, this property has been highly developed over the years. It clearly has a commercial feel to the property, even though there's residential in the back. I think that the hot dog stand is a small addition that would count as the efficient use of land. And so the last one would be A. Given that all of the prior factors, I would say that it also helps promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. So the next part of the positive criteria is site suitability. So we have to demonstrate that the site's particularly suited for the proposed use. Usually when you're looking at a property, it's not built, it's on plans, it's on paper. So if you were to visit the site, you would see how the hot dog stand fits in nicely with the site. So I believe that this site has sufficient space for this small hot dog stand. It has sufficient off-street parking to provide area for the patrons to park. Also, it's located not only in the NC zone, which is designed or intended for commercial activity, it's also on a county highway, which is designed to convey a lot of traffic. And so that's the whole key to the NC zone, is to have patrons come to the commercial establishments. Also, even though the one property split zone with the residential and the commercial, the parking lot's been there for a very long time. It does need to be striped because it hasn't been striped in a while. But if you visit the site is never overparked. And so I think the site can easily support the parking demand for that mix of uses. Negative criteria, well, we have to look at, does this cause any substantial detriment to the neighbors? And so I look at the surrounding uses that I described to you. I don't see any negative impact at all to the restaurant, the sports bar across Morton Avenue. As a matter of fact, I see a synergy where if there's patrons that want to come and get a hot dog, they certainly can do that. To the east, I don't see any negative impact to the residents. This condition where the parking lots have been there for decades, and if necessary, it's not all that difficult to erect a privacy fence if necessary. But I really don't see any negative impact because the hot dog stand is close to Spotswood Englishtown Road, and the residents are much farther away. To the south, I don't see any negative impact at all from the hot dog stand to the medical office, and certainly not to the west where you have that collection of commercial uses. As a matter of fact, again, there's a synergy there. I think if there are workers or folks at the automobile repair shop, they want to grab a hot dog, they can do so as well. So I don't see any substantial detriment caused by the hot dog stand to any of the surrounding uses. So the last one is we have to look at, does it impair the intent of the zone plan and zoning ordinance? Well, the zone plan is for what? NC zone, commercial uses. This is a commercial use. This is such a small piece of the property. As a matter of fact, I calculated the amount of area where the pad and the hot dog stand is. It's less than 2% of the entire site that's going to be occupied by the container and those couple of tables that are out front. So in terms of providing the goals and objectives of the 2022 master plan, it says achieve a balance of land use types and enhances the quality of life of the town. Well, this hot dog stand certainly is something that well, I think adds to the services to the town as well as to the local residents. And speaking with Bill, I learned that not only does he have people driving there, but he has a lot of walk-up business. So it's a neighborhood thing. The other goal is to encourage appropriate commercial development in areas of population concentration. Well, certainly this is one of the more established parts of Monroe Township, and certainly the commercial corridor serves the surrounding residential neighborhoods. And again, I think the hot dog stand is complementary to that. And it says also wants to encourage infill development. While this property is quite well developed, I think the addition of the hot dog stand is a good complementary infill use on the property. So I don't see any impairment of the zone plan or zoning ordinance by the addition of the hot dog stand. So in conclusion, I believe it promotes the purposes of the municipal land use law. I think the site's particularly suited for the hot dog stand. Evidence is just looking at it if you visited the site. It doesn't accrue any substantial detriment to the public good, which means the neighbors, and it does not, I don't believe it substantially impairs the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. So I believe that the use variance can be granted.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. And Mark, did you review Mr. Dockney's January 14, 2026 report?
Yes, I have.
I know there are a few questions that might remain unanswered, like impervious coverage and building coverage. I know, do you have anything to expound on in regards to those?
If anything, the impervious cover, I looked at the plan that was, or that survey that had the area of the pad and the container proposed on it. Again, it's roughly 22 feet by 22 feet is what I could gather from the plan, which is 486 square feet, and that was less than 2% of the property being covered.
Mark, any objection to any of the conditions in Mr. Dockney's report?
I did not find any, no.
No, I did not either. Mr. Chairman, nothing further for Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you. Chris, being they touched on you, please.
Okay, thank you. So we issued a report January 14th of this year. I have no objections to the testimony provided by Mr. Remsa or the owner of the business, Mr. Parenti. I just, one real question here, just not so much a question as just follow-up to just to kind of wrap my head around what's going on here, because there's a lot going on this property and on these properties altogether. Just so I'm clear, the Lot 22, the initial property of this application includes the sign business or the graphics business, the hot dog mobile, not mobile, the hot dog shipping container, the business in question, as well as a residence in the back is all part of one property?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then there's also the Georgian food business next door and the parking lot behind that. I'm trying to wrap my head around, what is the relationship between all of these? Or is it all just on Lot 22 where you're seeking relief right now? Or is there a relationship between the Georgian food business and the signs and the hot dog cart?
There's a relationship between the two properties, all owned by Bill. And when we discovered that there really was never any use variance approved for the back portion of the lots 19 and 20 for the parking, because it's in the residential zone, we wanted to clean that up.
Okay.
And that since the two, I'll call them the two parcels, the one where you have the house, hot dog stand, and embroidery building, and then you have the other building where you have the food preparation company and the apartments. The way the site works and the flow of circulation, they all work together, right? And the reason being is we want to have a one-way system off to get people off of Spotswood Englishtown Road, and then come around on a public street where there's good lines of sight and leave it. So the idea is to have both together, not consolidating the properties, but have it so that you legitimize the uses that have been operating on both parcels over the years, and then at the same time create a cross-access easement, because it works that way now.
Okay.
And there is no formal cross-access easement to get that circulation.
Okay,
So
it's
the
not
the written record is, I'm sorry, Mr. Dockney, you want to?
No, you go ahead.
But the written record is a bit spotty. There's a 2006 tenancy review for the Georgian Food, but there's nothing that says that the residents and the Georgian Food Company or that type of use may exist on the same property. So a short answer to your question is, this is a request for global relief among lots 19, 20, 21, and 22.
To legitimize
To
everything.
legitimize it, yes.
legitimize
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, they've been out there for decades.
Yeah.
I actually represented the seller when Bill purchased. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's to legitimize all the uses on site.
Okay, and as part of that, for the residents on lot 22, is it your position that's a pre-existing non-conforming use, or are you seeking relief for that as well?
Well, it
You
was
said
built in
built
1954. I think the ordinance was in 1952. Was
Okay,
on
so
the
before I got here.
Yeah. Even
A
me.
couple of years after.
So to assert that it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, we would have to produce even more evidence on it. So
We're a variance. We're considering a D.
yeah, I think we're trying to get
Okay.
legitimize that as well, all as one.
Okay, I just want to make it clear
No, that-
exactly the relief you're seeking,
Sure.
so it's all on the record, so that in the event that the board does approve this application going forward, you have a clear record of what is allowed to be there.
Yes.
Understood.
Yeah, again, I don't really have any objections to the testimony provided. I'll reiterate that the hot dog business otherwise would be permitted, if not for the structure itself, because restaurants, if they are fully enclosed, are permitted as a principal use in the district. Same thing with the signage business. Are you planning on coming back for a site plan later, or is it just you want to memorialize the existing conditions?
I think it's the board's professionals and perhaps the board's position that we would come back. I would like to limit it, of course, but I guess that would be subject to how I present the application and submit. Ideally, I like a waiver, but because the site is fully built, right? It's essentially all impervious. I don't want to run afoul of what the board may wish, though.
Okay, I would defer to Mark in terms of any site plan issues,
Yeah,
if he's
sure.
comfortable with the existing conditions or the way they've been presented. I did have a few questions over things like signage and that, which if you're going to come back for site plan later, we could defer that to a site plan, but
Or a sign permit, right?
or just signage
sign
permits,
permit.
yeah.
I think signage permits would be the route we would
Do
take.
you know a good signage guy?
The hot dog stand?
I'm kind of joking since you're next to the.
It's in
I
the
use a Subret awning, an umbrella. People see the blue and yellow awning a mile up spots with English Town Road, they don't open. If the umbrella's down, they don't come.
Okay.
That's my
But yeah,
signage.
we would.
Would I one day want to say, hey, I got a 200 soda?
Yes.
Need to bring him up.
Yeah.
Gonna have to get
Yeah.
to that mic.
Well, actually, I don't think this. Well, on an ad hoc basis,
fine.
we would submit a sign application. or
Definitely,
sign permit
and if we have to
application.
come here to get a relief, we would. But
Yes, correct. Again, I'll defer to, again, I respectfully request a waiver of site plan, but if Mr. Razumowitz thinks otherwise, I would not belabor that point or argue against it.
And one last, not so much a question, but the impression I got from your testimony was that you want some flexibility in your hours of operation. You're not looking to lock down. You operate exactly from 11 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock on certain days of the week.
Looking for
Perhaps
some
it should be clear
flexibility
on the
that.
record that
Yeah.
I think when Mr. Toto was asking you about your hours of operation, typically at a zoning board hearing, what we're looking for is more, how late are you going to be open? Are you going to be open at midnight or something like that, or 24/7?
I've had a lot of requests from Ryan's Pub. Why don't you stay open till midnight? We come out of the barn, we want to get hot dogs. But
Very
I said
understandable.
that's too late for me. I'm 57. I'm not looking to stay out that late. I go to bed at 9 o'clock. So honestly, if I can have till 5, that's even 4. And it takes me about an hour to clean up. So by 5 o'clock, I'm gone.
I mean, frankly, I guess what I'm trying to get at here, and I've seen this happen in other places where a sandwich shop was approved through a use variance, and the owner of the sandwich shop said, yeah, I'm usually open 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock, and then
Then he
That
pushes it.
that was put in the resolution of approval that they were only allowed to be open until 4 o'clock, when I don't think it was really the board's position that they didn't want a sandwich shop open at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That
Right.
for your own benefit here, I'm getting at maybe so that the record's clear. I wouldn't want to limit your business to exactly 4 o'clock in the afternoon if you wanted to stay open until 5, because if this board approves a resolution that says you're limited from 11 to 4 and you wanted to stay open until 5, you'd have to come back here just to ask to stay open an hour later. And
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
you'd
would
have
like
to do
that flexibility to have the extra hour. I don't see myself being there till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, but 5 would be realistic.
So
Okay,
we would
I mean, is
amend,
there-
we would amend, so
Is
let's
there
say
like a
10 to
cutoff
5.
time where you'll say, I'm not going to be open past, 9 or
Yeah,
10 o'clock
yeah,
at
yeah,
night or
so
something like that?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Not even close to it.
So Chris, I'm talking to Walter, and I mentioned to him, probably because you want to have time to get there, set things up, and then clean up.
Yeah.
10 to 5 would probably be the most appropriate hours.
All I'm getting at here is I don't want to see the zoning officer of the town have to go out there to shut down a hot dog cart at 6 o'clock because your
Right.
approval said 5 o'clock. And I don't think that's what we're
Right.
necessarily looking to do here.
10
So
to 5, 10 to 5.
we're just
10
trying
to
to
5
confirm you'll
Tuesday
have
to Sunday?
reasonable hours
Yes.
of operation.
Thanks, Peter.
And we would want to know if you're planning on being open 24/7 kind of
No,
thing.
right.
Selling hot
Absolutely
dogs
not,
at 4 in
no.
the morning. Okay. I've got no other questions or comments.
Thank you, Chris. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board's in receipt of my August 4th, 2025 review letter. Are you agreeable with the terms in that letter or the comments? And I'll jump right into the site plan. You used the
Yeah.
word legitimize the site and to clean it up. So I think a site plan does that as well, and get you, completely legitimized, should the board approve it.
Understood.
Get you legitimized and cleans up the whole site.
Mark, I guess yes, and I also already said to the board that I would acquiesce to whatever demands you have, and it's reasonable, certainly. I would just, of course, like the opportunity to request, and I always have this opportunity, it's submission waivers, design waivers, as the case may be, given the nature of the site, the age of the buildings, all of that. I don't think there are any stormwater management issues out there. I wouldn't want to get wrapped up into, we're not really changing anything. I know there's been some additional impervious that was added, the concrete stand.
Less than 2%.
Correct. So having said that, we'll submit, would it be, listen, I know minor under the ordinance is, only 300 square feet?
Yes.
I think we're above that. So it'd be a preliminary and final. I don't mean to be flip about it because it's an important issue, I understand. So yeah, Mr. Chairman, we would agree to come back. I would, just as a heads up to the board, if it helps your review of this project now, I would certainly ask for a great deal of waivers because what we're talking about ultimately is a food container, and substantial site plan may not be warranted in this case. But having said that, we'll work with the board and your professionals, certainly.
And Mr. Chairman, and that's reasonable. There would be a lot of waivers that
Yeah.
you would be seeking at that time. But again, to have that plan that goes along with your use variance, I think it's important in cleaning up the site and legitimizing, the whole property.
Fair enough, Mark.
And all your uses. Having said that, a couple things I want to just clarify for the record. Are you going to be selling out of the push cart or the container or both?
Push cart only.
No, I was selling off the cart for now because I'm not allowed to work inside the container. But if the container got approved, I'd like to ultimately be selling hot dogs in the cart. They do make a steam table that would basically mimic the same thing a cart does, and I would do it inside. I have a walk-up window, allow customers not to walk into the container. It's locked. Only I would be in there, but they can walk up to the window and I can hand them something right outside.
Thank you for clarifying. Also, you're going to have tables and chairs. I think I heard that mentioned.
They've been out.
Yes, they exist.
Number of tables. Yeah.
Two.
Thank you. Hours of operation, you clarified. Lasting construction permits. You'd have to seek any construction permits that are needed, electrical,
Of course.
plumbing, whatever you got. I'm assuming you have electricity. You're not running off a generator for the container?
So when we were approved, JCP&L gave us a separate meter just for the container. We haven't been using anything because we weren't allowed to be in there. I had spoke to, after we initially got approved, I went to the construction department to get a permit. The container came with basic electric, a panel in there. And almost like you could see in a trailer park, like a laundry drop comes off the container with a module, goes into a power plug. So we're not off a generator. But once we got denied and we were told we had to go for a variance, we stopped using it and we put everything on hold. Construction said to me, even the health department said, let's just wait, see what happens with the variance. And this was when Joe was involved with zoning. That was almost 3 years ago.
We'll get the approvals, Paul.
Yeah.
We'll get the permits that are necessary.
Yeah, well, of course. If inside it's studded out, I wanted to put stainless steel walls, do it right. That would all be with permits.
Right. So assuming you get approved tonight, then you need to seek your construction permits that you need from the construction department.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, that's, I'm sorry. And the lot consolidation, you say you're not consolidating the two lots, or
We will provide a cross-access easement,
Okay.
don't Mark, for your review. And Mr. Vignolo and Mr. Dockney.
That's it, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Any board members have any questions for the applicant?
In order to maintain the positive attitude of the neighborhood, would it be better if you, well, I don't know if I'm using the right word, better, have you surveyed the residents in the area to determine whether they approve of this site being a stand, a hot dog stand?
Mr. Busman, I think many of them are behind us, and you'll have enough.
Well, I'd like to hear from some of
Of
those
course.
persons.
When we get to the public portion, Mr.
Yeah.
Busman, right now I'm seeking comments from the board members.
So that's a
Well,
good question.
that's my question.
Yeah. Every day that I'm at the stand and I'm setting up your hot dog with onions or sauerkraut, it's more than just selling a hot dog. I open up to people. People come to me who might have lost a family member, a divorce. They open up. I can give you a list of 50 people that come to sit at that bench for nothing more than just sit and talk. And on a good day, you drive by. So I know they're very happy having me in the
You
community.
have a social worker's license?
I do not. I do not. But I could probably talk my way out of a cardboard box, so that helps, you know. I'm from New York. I'm not doing the hot dog sales to make money. I kind of retired a few years ago, and I'm doing it for the people. The money, I mean, a $4 hot dog after expenses, there are days I go home with $50. But I do it for the people. I do it for the community. And I've posted quite a few posts online. We thought we were having a hearing a year ago, 6 months ago. And the outpour of support, even out there today on the Monroe Township NJ page on Facebook, you'll see 50 or 100 people supporting it. This is an open forum. If there's somebody here who doesn't want me to be there, they have the right to come up when you're ready and they could speak out. But I think we've had a very positive, again, we're not looking for approval to try something new. We've been doing it for 3 years, and I'm killing myself working off that stand.
You know, I commend you for what you're saying and what you want to do, and it's not, my comment doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you want to do what you're doing. It's the concern about what this does to the neighborhood from the fact that it's a push cart with an umbrella on a corner. To me,
Well, it's
you know,
not-
I
it's
grew
not-
up.
Interior line.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not going to be a
It's
push cart
interior.
anymore.
Well, no, when I heard the fact that he changed it, and you might do an inside with a walk up, then it becomes a restaurant. That's with tables. That's a whole different picture than a push cart. So my concern is, do the residents approve and enjoy the fact that Bob is there doing what he does? That's my concern.
I think we're going to hear that.
Yeah. I just
Thank
want
you.
to say, for the record, any delay in having this application heard is due to the applicant's attorney, who shall be nameless at this point, and it's the applicant's, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but the surveying. This board has been waiting a long time. We have not been waiting for you guys. You were waiting on us and our professionals, not Mr. Remza, and it took some time to navigate through that. So I just want to make that clear for the record.
Any other board members have questions? Lou? Oh. Put your mic on, please. Mr. Jaffe.
Yes, Mr. Jaffe. Tables.
It's on now.
Okay. I believe you mentioned that you'll have containers in front of the, pardon me, tables.
A bench.
A bench.
Correct.
Will it be chairs, any,
No chairs. The benches I have are Rubbermaid, plastic, weather resistant, like park bench. It's a small bench, about 6-7 feet long. I put 2 of them there. When I'm there, I put umbrellas in there. People could sit, they'll get out of the sun. People walk by and they'll just take a break with their dog and sit for a minute. Maybe they got to fix their shoes or their socks or, and I mean, I leave them there all year round because they're used all year round. And I know that because when I go there to sweep up or clean up in November or December, I could see that somebody might have left a coffee cup. So I do my periodic cleanups. It works well. Like I said, the one thing I think I have in my favor is that we've been doing this now for almost 3 years. So if any issues were to come from my performance, I think we would have, as a township, we would have heard about it. The police would have been notified. There would have been fights or riots, and there's none of that. It's just a nice community spot. Everybody loves it. The church across the street, they support me 100%. All the businesses there. And like I said, I live in the Outcolt section. It's right there. I'm 15 blocks away. So I wouldn't do anything to hinder my own neighborhood.
Okay, now you mentioned you don't anticipate being operating after 5 p.m.
No, I do not.
In that case, will you have any sort of lighting, or will there be no need for any lighting?
There's going to be power in the container, so I'll
Mr.
have.
Jaffe, that's going to come to a site plan. That's not here for the use of a container.
Okay.
So when the time comes and we get to its site plan, that's when we'll discuss that, if it even gets to that point. We still need to get some questions out, get the public up, and get it to a vote, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jaffe.
Lou?
2 quick questions.
Yeah.
Would you ever have both the container operating and the push cart at the same time?
There's no reason for that. No.
Okay. And I see mobile food trailer a lot in here, and then I see this picture of wheels. What is that about?
So
Is that the
I'll
card? Go
answer
ahead,
that.
yeah.
So when I first got approved, 1,250 hours, I think it was Chris Bevins, they signed off on it. Then they came to me, construction came to me, and they said, oh, it's not mobile. You're calling it mobile. So the first thing I did was, and then they said to me, construction, you're not even paying taxes over here. So I called the tax department. They came out to assess. They raised my taxes on that 200 square foot patio of concrete. And there was concrete there, it was all broken up. But I put new concrete, my taxes went up accordingly. And then I showed construction and zoning that they make caster kits for these containers. The truth of the matter is, I'm not putting wheels on it and moving it myself. It's a heavy container. It's a few thousand pounds. But at that time, it didn't work. And after speaking to Joe Stroin, Mr. Stroin, he said, just go for a variance. He made me feel like it'd be a 3-week wait, and we get this lock, stock, and barrel. So you might have gotten some old footage, some old photos, but they do make casters for it. I do have some shims under the container. It's not even touching the concrete, so it's really off the floor.
Just to answer Mr. Lupo's question, there are no wheels.
No, that's a dolly kit that's available if I wanted to put it on wheels.
Correct.
Any other board members, any
Mr.
questions?
Masters, not Mr. Lupo, my bad.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to take a seat. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on this application and this application only, please come forward.
Sir, if I could just swear you in before you make any comments, if you could raise your right hand, you swear any comments you make are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you could state your name for us, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
Nick, N-I-C-K, Balachi, B as in boy, E-L-L-O-C-H-I, 3 Agnes Court in Monroe. So you were talking about people in the neighborhood who wanted or not want the hot dog stand, and I got to tell you, anybody who does what Bill does on those weekends, those hot weekends, standing out there selling hot dogs, has to love it. And he loves the community. He loves the people. People come up and talk to him. It's a great place to go somewhere on a Saturday or Sunday or Friday. He's not there any Sundays. And just, grab something and talk to him and, on the way to the store and come back and forth. I've gone there a couple of times and really, had nothing to do, sat there, had a hot dog, and it was a great, great time. So, I think you look for somebody who is a value to the community. He's 1,000% value to the community, and he's an asset to the community. And, I think that you should approve him, and it'd be good for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you, Mr. Balachi.
young man, please come forward.
Evening, sir. If I could swear you in quickly, if you could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear any testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Most certainly, yes.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
Right.
I'm Dr.
You can just hold it, that's fine.
Dr. Joseph Padula, Padula, 17 Butterheart Lane, Monroe. My comment is simply that I have two autistic boys, and we look very much forward every weekend to going and spending time at Bill's place and having the hot dogs there. They look forward to it. He's always been very friendly and very good and very accepting to them. And it's a very positive experience for them and a very positive experience for me. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public, please come forward.
Good evening. If you could raise your right hand for me, do you swear any testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
My name is Annie Beck, B-E-C-K, 307 Spotswood Englishtown Road, Unit 1B. I am one of his tenants there. I've been there for over a year. I've seen him operate his stand. It doesn't do anything to anybody that lives in that apartment complex. It's not noisy. It's very inviting. There's always people out there. It's very neat. It's very clean. And like everybody has said, people come there, they get a hot dog, something to drink, have a rest with their dog or their pet. And I don't see any reason why it shouldn't continue because it is great on that corner. And I've lived in Monroe for 24 years. So I don't see any problems with it. Like I said, I live right there. It's not a problem or a hassle or a noise. It's very neat and clean. He is gone by 5 o'clock because when I get home, he's gone. So I can attest that, there won't be any hours after, like I said, I get home, he's already gone. It's already clean. There's no garbage. There's no, remnants that he was even there. So I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please come forward.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear any testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
Sure. Mary Lou Earl, E-A-R-L, 27 Park Avenue, Monroe. My husband and I enjoy having a hot dog, sausage sandwich. It's really delicious. He takes time to talk with you for a little bit. He always keeps the area very clean. He's very professional, and I hope he is able to continue to do so. Okay?
Thank you.
Hopefully more days.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Seeing there's none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion. Do I have a motion? Second?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, board members, you have an application before us for approval or denial. Do I have a motion? Mr. Lupo.
I don't have a problem with this applicant, Mr. Chair. I do want to refer a question to our engineer, though. Because the applicant is so small, 300 square feet, and they're already elated to the fact that they're going to have 1 million questions coming in. We're going to waive. My opinion is it's just to waive this site plan. Why?
In your motion, you could put that we can put the onus on our engineer, and
That's what I'm
we've
gonna
done this
say.
previously
I
where
just wanted to
Mark would
explain
use his
myself.
discretion
Right.
as to what needs to be cleaned up, altered, changed. So
Apply for it.
Why have the individual incur another expense? It is what it is. So my motion is to approve this application with the question going to our engineer if it's satisfied to him.
The only thing I would add to that is that the applicant's application was for a D1 use variance for the various uses.
Correct.
There was no request in the notice for a waiver of site plan. And while the applicant did include any and all other relief that the board might deem necessary for the application, a waiver of site plan wouldn't usually be one of those items. that would be part and parcel of a D variance, kind of at the tail end. So it would be something that they would have needed to ask for up front. Otherwise, people don't know that it's something they're looking for. So I would say that to Mr. Toto that, certainly he can make that ask of the board, but they do run the risk of someone coming along after the fact and saying, you didn't notice for it. How did you get it from the board?
I would formally make that request, verbally amend the application and tonight's, under that omnibus language in the notice, certainly running the risk of it being exposed to a potential appeal, but I think it's, we'll take that risk.
So that would cover Mr. Lupo's premise of what he's looking
Covers his
to
premise,
put forward.
and then it's just a question of whether or not Mr. Razumowitz has anything he'd like to add, because I know Mr. Lupo did ask for his input.
Well, do we want to add something before we go to a second and move on, or?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I was just going to add, my comment before was, I was asked a question about site plan, and that's what our ordinance requires. But certainly this board can waive site plan. It's under your jurisdiction to do that, certainly not mine. And this site, it is very unique. I mean, the area that has changed over the years is just where the hot dog cart is, and I believe Mr. Remsa pointed out that that was about 2% of the entire site, so it's a very small portion of the site. So certainly I think you're giving those facts and the uniqueness of this site, if the board chose to waive site plan, I don't think that's anything unusual to grant that waiver of site plan, given the fact that it's such a small area of the entire property, where everything else is not changing and it's operated for decades. Okay. So you're not setting a precedent. That's what I wanted to say. You're not setting a precedent.
So, Mr. Lupo, is that okay with you? Okay, do we have a second?
I will second it.
There's a second. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Mr. Busman?
Yes.
Ms. Caratori? Yes. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Jaffe?
Yes.
Chairman LaFada?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time this evening and the approval. We appreciate it. Thank you. Don't say that.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, we'll give them a second to clean out. Are you staying for, okay, so we're going to give you a break and give them a few minutes to get set up as well. So we're going to adjourn for 10 minutes. 5 minutes. I got 5268-26, Jasser Alley, represented by Mr. Clausen.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and your professional staff. Peter Klauser for the record with the firm Heilbronn Pape on behalf of your applicant. This is an application for bulk variance relief to construct a single-family home at 1 Sienna in Monroe, which is off of Brandon. What's unusual about that is Sienna was a paper street that is being improved by a neighboring developer who's building a house that this board previously approved. I actually think I might have been the attorney, but it was quite a while ago. So the property right now fronts on a road that's under construction. However, it will eventually be constructed to township standards and taken over by the municipality, so it will be a public roadway. The problem that we have is that the lot is a little narrow, frontage and width. We have enough area, but the lot's narrow. So part of the request, which this board is familiar with, is for hardship relief, because without variance relief, we couldn't build the house on the property. In order to support that request, I have to reach out to my neighbors and say, can I fix this problem? I did that. I sent those letters out quite a while ago. The neighbor that's building the house did not respond. The neighbor that is on Brandon, Mr. Fallon, is here this evening. He did reach out to us, and I had the pleasure of meeting him out at the property back in March, and we came to an agreement to build a berm and some greenery along the rear of his lot, which would be along the side of our lot. Frank, who's here, will explain it better than me. And then along Sienna Place, we also agreed that we would put in a fence to give him some privacy, but all of those improvements would occur on Mr. Fallon's property. So I believe I've adequately addressed the requirement to reach out to our neighbors. So you have a single-family home in a residential lot on what was a paper street and now will be an improved road. And because of two pre-existing conditions with regard to lot width and lot frontage, we have to come in front of the board and ask for variance relief. My witness this evening is Frank Anticel. Frank is both a professional engineer and a professional planner. He will testify in that capacity, in both of those capacities this evening. So if I could have Frank sworn, place his credentials on the record as both a professional planner and a professional engineer, and then we can get started.
Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for the record, please.
Sure. It's Frank Anticel, Antisell, 12 Concord Drive, Kendall Park, New Jersey.
And Mr. Ansel, if you could just share with the board a little bit about your licensing and your educational background so we can get something on the record.
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Widener University. I have a master's degree from Stevens Institute of Technology. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey and also a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. And I've testified before this board and the planning board in Monroe and probably close to 75 other boards in the state of New Jersey over the last 32 years.
We'll accept your credentials as a professional.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Frank, if you could just start, let's locate the property and identify what the applicant's proposing. So we have engineer hat on right now, and then we'll switch to planning hat.
It's on. There it goes. All right. This is the same plan that was given out, so I don't know if we need to mark it.
Bring the mic closer.
Okay, can you hear me now? All right, so the property is known as Lot 3, Block 109, and it's also known as 1 Sienna Place. The property is 43,264 square feet in size and is located in the R30 residential zone. The property will have frontage on Sienna Place, which is currently under construction. Sienna Place comes off of Brandon Avenue, and it's off of Brandon Avenue in between Deborah Court and Verde Road. The Sienna Place construction is being performed by the owner of 3 Sienna Place, which is this house right here. Currently, if you go out there today, you'll see that the curb has been placed and the base layer of asphalt is in place. In addition to that, once construction of that road is complete, sidewalk will also be along our side of Sienna Place from Brandon Avenue down to number 3 Sienna. The property is 104 feet in width and is 461 feet deep. As our attorney mentioned, there are 2 bulk variances. Both are for pre-existing conditions, for lot width and lot frontage. Your ordinance requires 150 feet. We have 104 feet that is existing. And as Mr. Klauser said, we tried to buy property from this property owner and this property owner. We contacted both of those properties, and neither one was willing to sell us any additional property. The applicant is proposing to construct a 5-bedroom house. We are required to provide 2.5 parking spaces. We are proposing 5 parking spaces. So we actually are proposing double the number of parking spaces required. We've had the opportunity to talk to your engineer. We've gone over the report with him, and we agree to comply with all the requirements that he is requesting in his report. And in addition, our wetlands expert has walked the site and has agreed to provide a letter indicating that there are no wetlands or buffers on the property. And as Mr. Klauser talked about, the property owner at Brandon Avenue has requested that we provide a fence along Sienna Place and also provide additional landscaping along the common property line.
And Mr. Chair, I provided Mr. Vignola with sort of a detailed email chain, which includes all of those improvements, which I imagine will make its way into a resolution should the board grant the application. And Peter, if you need that again, I can certainly give it to you.
And just for the record, Mr. Chairman, I was provided with a recitation of what the anticipated improvements to the adjoining property would be, and they are consistent with what's been represented to the board tonight. So if the board were inclined to grant this application, those would be included in any resolution of the board.
Thank you.
Not a lot of heavy engineering. As Mr. Antisel pointed out, we would comply with the comments in Mr. Razumowitz reports, and some of those were with regard to maintaining drainage patterns and things of that nature, and you have no issue or no concerns with any of that?
No, we can easily comply with that.
There was a little bit of a mention in your planner's report about a side yard setback for a bump out in the building, but it's my understanding that when you have a bay window in Monroe, there's some relief when it's lifted up off the ground, so we don't actually require any side yard setback. And I'm sure when we get to your planner, he can perhaps comment on that. Frank, unless there's anything else you want to add about the physical nature of the property, I would ask if you could just talk to the board a little bit about the ordinances and the planning support for a hardship, and back the board up. I think you were prepared to provide some C2 testimony as well.
Yes. So when we look at this property, again, it's in the R30 residential zone. The property is currently a vacant lot. The subject property is surrounded by residential uses to the immediate north, south, east, and west. The project has 2 bulk variances. The 2 bulk variances are both pre-existing condition. One is for the minimum lot frontage of 150 feet, where 104 feet is provided, and minimum lot width where 150 feet is required and 104 feet is provided. The municipal land use law allows the zoning board to grant a C1 variance or a hardship variance when strict application of zoning ordinances like setbacks and lot size cause unique and exceptional hardship due to the property's narrowness, shallowness, irregular shape, or exceptional topography. And as part of this, we need to prove that the hardship is tied to the land and not to personal circumstances. And in our case, the hardship is an existing undersized lot and is considered an infill lot. We've reached out to both of the property owners on either side. We can't add to our property. So one of the things that we've done is we've tried to design a house which doesn't require any additional bulk variances. So the only 2 bulk variances that we are requesting are both existing conditions. We're able to design a house and construct the house with no additional bulk relief that is needed as part of this. And when we do this, we have to look at both the positive and the negative criteria. When we look at the positive criteria, there are special reasons that support the variance that we're requesting, particularly special reason G, to provide sufficient space and appropriate location to a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial uses. In our case, we have an existing vacant lot, which is surrounded by similar residential uses and is considered an infill lot. And special reason I, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. And in our case, we have designed a house that's similar in character to the surrounding residential houses. And special reason K, which is to encourage planned unit development, which incorporates the best features of design and relative to the type, design, and layout of residential development to a particular site. In our case, we have designed a house that fits on the lot and it doesn't create any new bulk variances. We also need to look at the negative criteria. And there are two prongs of the negative criteria that we have to look at when granting a variance. And one is that there's no substantial detriment to the public good and no substantial detriment to the zone plan. When we look at no substantial detriment to the public good, in our case, we have an infill lot, which is vacant and which a single family dwelling is permitted on, and that's what we are proposing. Also, when we look at the character of the area, our proposal is in line with the character of the area, and on-site parking is provided on the property. In our case, we're actually proposing double the on-site parking required. And then as far as the zone plan goes, the proposed use actually promotes and enhances and fulfills several goals and objectives of the town master plan. One is to achieve a balance of land use types that maintains and enhances the quality of life in the township, and also to encourage redevelopment and infill development where it is feasible in Monroe to promote more efficient use of land and existing infrastructure. So we believe that we meet both of those. As far as negative criteria goes, we believe there really isn't any negative criteria because we're in line with both the zone plan and also we are not proposing any detriment to the public good.
Thank you, Frank. I'd like to highlight two pieces of your testimony. Number one is we have a lot that's exceptionally narrow. Those are the legal terms. And yet the house has been designed so as to respect the municipality's setbacks, both as the side yard and front yard. That's correct?
That is correct.
And that must enhance your testimony that the proposed use is appropriate there and fits on the lot.
Yes.
And then the second part, with regard to the negative criteria, which involves the effect of the property on the surrounding neighborhood, which has been defined by our courts as our neighboring properties, is your testimony enhanced by the fact that we've worked with our neighbor and created a plan to respect his privacy and lot?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, it's a pretty straightforward application. I know that this zoning board has seen many of these in Monroe with these old subdivisions. I have no further questions for Mr. Ansatel. He's available to the board and your professionals for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Chris, we're going to start with you, please.
All right, we issued a report dated March 12th of this year. I apologize first. We do have written our report that side yard setback variances are needed. I had not updated that since they met before the TRC. They are correct. Your code allows for encroachments into the side and rear yards as well as front yards for certain things like porches, chimneys, and bay windows. Although, just for the record, if that bay window, if it goes all the way down to the ground, it's a bay window. If it is up higher above, it's technically an oriel. That's me putting on my architectural historian hat. I had many classes in that, and that got pointed out to me. Very misused term, but either way, the idea is there. So the variance is actually required here for the minimum lot frontage and lot width. And that, as they've provided here in the testimony, I have no objection to. It's an existing lot. The width and frontage are there. There is case law, a few different cases that say wherever that's the case, either an undersized lot or a lot that has insufficient width, the appropriate question to ask is whether they've tried to remedy that situation by acquiring additional land. They've indicated they have made attempts and that have been unsuccessful to acquire additional property to bring their lot into conformity. So they have essentially an existing non-conforming lot, and it is in a residential district. They're proposing to build a single-family home. There's more than enough space on that lot still to build a home that would be consistent with the neighborhood. They're not required any other variances for any other setbacks. I do have a question. You did say there's going to be a fence. Did you say along Sienna Place?
Yes.
As in along the frontage? Or along the side yard between you and the neighbor?
It's actually along the frontage that the neighbor's side yard has on Sienna Place.
Okay, so it's not on your property, is what you're
Correct. The neighbor has asked that we build this on his property along his side yard of Sienna Place.
Okay, so I don't know if that's really part of this application, or is that just an agreement you have with that neighbor?
It's an agreement that we have with the neighbor. We just figured we would mention it to the board and ask that the board grant us approval as part of this to do that.
It's more proofs in support of the application and our respect for our neighbor.
Okay, just want to clarify that it was along the frontage of Sienna Place. Yeah, I have no objection to the testimony that was provided. I don't think I have any other questions or comments. This is a single-family home on an existing lot that is undersized, or not undersized, under width and frontage, and that's really all this is.
Thank you. Mark?
Mr. Chairman, they've agreed to meet the comments in my review letter, just some grading comments and drainage. Let's see. The agreement with the neighbor, can you just clarify? So I got a little confused. Is it on your side yard that you're adding landscaping, or?
No. Yes. Our side yard, his rear yard. Technically, Mark, it'll be on his property. So it's his rear yard. We're going to put a berm in those green giants.
So you're going to go on his property and do that, and that's going to be worked out?
Yeah, with us. Yeah.
Okay. And then did you say you were providing something along Sienna Place?
On his side yard to provide a 6-foot vinyl fence to block him from the newly constructed roadway.
So it's along his side yard from the back of his property up until the garage.
There's a shed. There's an outdoor shed. That's where it would be. And the fence would be on his property and his responsibility.
And is that a replacement of an existing fence?
There's no existing fence there. He's got some shrubs there.
So that variance is
I'm
part of
assuming they did not notice a variance for a fence or a variance for a different property.
Okay. And is landscaping?
Yeah, I did not. And obviously, with that wasn't part of the application. So if he has to go get a permit for the fence and that requires further relief from the board, we'll have to address that. I did mention it to Mr. Fallon that it could be an issue. It would be subject to the board's approval. But this is all, good-natured, trying to be nice to our neighbor.
Right. So there would be a permit process you'd have to go through,
Yes.
and it may trigger coming back here for
Maybe.
that fence permit.
Yeah.
But that road was put in. I know that neighbor was at the hearing for when the road went in as
Yes.
part of that application, which I believe, like you said, I think
I represented
might have
Sharif
been on that
then.
or your
Yeah.
firm. Is any landscaping going along Sienna Place, along in front of that fence?
No, that's not proposed.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I have nothing else.
Any board members have any questions? Seeing there's none, I'll open this application and this application only to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard on this application, please come forward.
Do you swear any testimony you provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
Sure. John Fallon, Fallon, 40 Brandon Avenue. And I am the neighbor who was referenced earlier. I just wanted to state that they've been very collaborative and helpful with working through this process. For me, this is a very difficult situation, given that the odd-shaped lot is really directly in my backyard. And they referenced that it's a vacant lot, which is true, but it's all woods. And I've lived in this property going on 26 years and have seen the development of Monroe Pines, which used to be pines. My backyard, at the edge of my backyard, going back for probably miles when I moved in there, was all pine trees, and they've continually have gotten developed over time. And this lot is the last buffer of pine trees really in the area. And it's sad to see it go, but that's progress, I guess. But anyway, to the point, they've been very collaborative and helpful in coming to my property, and we walked, the property and their property, and they've agreed to plant a buffer of green giants on my property, which hopefully I would like to clarify the initial size of the green giants that will be put in there, because if you put in 2-foot tall green giants, it's going to take 20 years before they provide any buffer. So I think it's appropriate to define the initial size, because it will take time for the trees to grow to provide that buffer. And the buffer will be beneficial both to myself and to the property owner that's looking for a variance now to provide privacy, because it is really on my backyard. So if I could request, that we get into the details of the sizing of the initial trees, that would be greatly appreciated. And the other aspect with respect to the fence, that they've been very gracious in agreeing to put along my property on Sienna Place. My request to the board would be to expedite any approvals on that, so that we don't have to jump through hoops and come back and go through any other additional requests in order to have that approved.
I'm going to interject here for a second. I'm going to direct this to council. Number one, this board has no jurisdiction over your private deals with the neighbor, so I don't think we can comment on that or enforce anything. That's something you guys worked out. As far as streamlining any permits or anything, it's out of this board's realm to authorize or do anything of that nature. It seems to me it's on a corner. There may be line side things that come into play. That's a whole different category. We're here, I will respect you obviously as the neighbor and resident of Monroe, but we're here to hear this application. So yes, while you have a deal with them, that's with them. It's not part of this application, and it's not part of what this board has jurisdiction on. I can't force them to do anything to enhance your property or to do anything of that nature. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
To the extent that they've indicated as part of their approval that they're providing these improvements to the neighboring lot in order to ameliorate any of the detrimental effects on that lot by the undersized nature of this lot, this board would be capable of imposing those conditions, as they are somewhat relevant to this application.
Okay, so did you guys agree to certain tree sizes? Because that hasn't been brought.
But I think he's trying to get an answer.
Yeah, not that
Well, he's
I
trying to
know
get
that
an
we
answer,
talked.
but nothing was brought
Yeah,
to us.
if we have an answer from Frank, please. I know we talked about it in the field, but I didn't have something
Well,
more.
before we just, do you have anything else? I'm not shooing you off, but
No.
if you have
That's fair.
anything else, spit it out so we can.
Those are the main points. Really.
And we're gonna hopefully
actually,
get an answer.
the other, since if we are putting this as part of the agreement for the approval, I would request that it be part of the site plan, and be in there before a CO is issued.
Well, typically,
This is.
as a single-family residence, they would be exempt from a formal site plan review. However, if it is the will of the board, I think they might be able to put a condition that the applicant coordinate with the neighbor on providing the arborvitae trees along the property line. I'll defer to Peter. I don't know that the board could grant any variances for that fence, since that your property was not part of this application. No notice has been given for any variance there.
I could tell you that I know when I talked to the builder of the site, he wanted to put up the berm and the trees first. I know that that's part of. We'd rather have that blocked off as we're doing our development. So I'm putting that on the record. I know that the builder indicated that was fine. Anything you feel comfortable including in the resolution, you have my email correspondence. We have our writing, and I don't want to make the board uncomfortable, but you do have our written commitments to you.
Right, I appreciate that. And that's really, my ultimate concern is, okay, if I look back, where can I find it in the minutes, in the approvals, and so that if something does go wrong, that I can go back to something and say, okay, we had this is part of the plan that was approved, so that somebody doesn't walk away from an agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple suggestions. With regard to the buffering, the landscape, and the berm, could it be a condition of approval that prior to building permits that they provide a plan for that buffering and a sign off from the neighbor that he's approved it prior to a building permit?
No disrespect to Mr. Fallon. Having done this for that many years, I can't let a neighboring property owner hold me up. You know me, you have my representations, you have a resolution that your attorney could put anything into. But if Mr. Fallon, again, I'm being extreme here, goes off the deep end and decides, oh, I'm going to make this guy's life a misery and never sign off on anything, I can't put my client in that position. I'm making representations to you that we worked out a deal with our neighbor. I've shared those correspondence with your board attorney. I think that's as far as I can go.
And second thing would be on the fence. If the fence was 15 feet from the property line, it's essentially a zoning permit, which, I think this board could have as a condition of the approval. If it's on the property line, on the right-of-way line, then you're before this board seeking a variance for the corner lot.
Okay, yeah, we'll try and apply for a permit, a zoning permit, in order to get the fence. I explained to Mr. Fallon and in my correspondence that everything would be subject to the township's approval. So if that's something, Mark, that Sharif can design where it's 15 feet off and then it's just a zoning permit, then okay, great, we'll do that.
And lastly, I just add to the board that there's no requirement, as it's been made clear, there's no requirement under our ordinance that requires them to put a buffer from the residential to the residential or to provide fencing along the existing roadway.
So that's a mutual thing between the two clients.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So just for the record, Mr. Chairman, the board has had those representations. The board could say, that's really important to our decision. We would like those memorialized as conditions. Or you could say, that's really nice. We're really happy you guys worked that out together, and we don't really need to worry about that. So those that, when we get to the point where the board may feel comfortable making a motion on this application, those are the options you have.
I'm comfortable with all of that.
Okay. Mr. Lupo, you had a question.
What? Just a The applicant is willing to buy the trees and put it on the other individual's property. Who's responsible for those trees?
He becomes responsible for maintaining them. It's on his property.
Something happens, it dies, the cost of pruning, trimming.
Mr. Fallon takes that on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm glad. Thank you for asking to clarify that.
But also, them being on the neighbor's property, now the neighbor has control of those trees. Whereas if they're on our property, if down the line our property owner were to remove those trees, now the buffer's gone. So at least with the trees being on Mr. Fallon's property, he's got complete control of them being there for whatever period of time.
In a logical world, you're right, but we've seen this many times back and forth.
Understood. I'm just letting you know the logic we had.
Mr. Fallon, are you clear with what they're saying?
Yes, I am. And I was
assume responsibility once they put trees in, they now become yours. There's no recourse after that.
Understood. And as part of the agreement, I'm giving up part of my property to have those trees on them.
Well, I caught that it's going to be all on your property.
Yeah. So.
But then again, like our engineer said, they're not required to put a buffer up. So it's kind of a mutual thing between two clients or two neighbors.
Right.
Hey, can we come to some agreement to do something?
Understood.
But they are not required to do it, just so you're aware.
Understood.
Mr. Master?
Chairman, just to clarify, Mr. Fallon, you didn't sell your property. This is an existing lot that's behind you that you don't own.
That's
that
correct.
They're looking to develop. So
That's
you're not
correct.
you're not giving up any property.
No.
You're saying your view of the wooded area is what you're essentially saying.
I'm sorry. Say that
You're
again?
saying your view of the wooded area.
Well, there's not going to be a wooded area.
Right, but
They're knocking
you
down
didn't
all
give
the
up
trees.
property. You indicated you gave
Well,
up
no.
property,
I said
your
that.
property.
No, sorry, that might have been misphrased on my part. What I'm saying is by having that
The trees
that
put-
row of
put in.
trees is on my property. So in effect, I'm allocating part of my property in order to provide a buffer for both, for myself as well as for them.
But to be
So-
clear to the board, you're requesting that. You're
That's
requesting the buffer to be provided on your trees, so.
On my
the trees
property.
on your property.
That's correct.
Correct.
That
I
is
just don't
correct.
want to mislead the board and have
Yep.
the board, misunderstand
Understood.
what you're saying.
Yes.
I have no problem with this applicant. I think we're in dangerous territory now. We are entangling our approval process with a private agreement.
I
And
said
I
that
don't want to be
earlier,
held
but they're
liable.
making it part of the case. Am I correct with that?
Well, they're telling you about an agreement they have with the neighbor and things that the neighbor found satisfactory. And as I indicated, the board has the ability to decide it wants to be entangled with it because they think it's a necessary element of the application, or the board could listen and say, something, no one came forward and wanted to buy the property, which is what typically occurs, either a sale or a purchase, and there was none of that between the two adjoining property owners. So we're happy to hear that this is happening, but we don't really care about it. So
That's what I'm urging the board to do.
No good deed goes unpunished.
I know.
I didn't want to complicate my application. I wanted to enhance it.
That's my
recommendation, right?
personal, and I'm
So
urging the rest of the
When we get
board.
to a vote portion, then so be it. You could state your case and your yays and nays at that point. Are there any other questions from any board members? Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, other than I kind of don't understand why it shouldn't be all part of.
I'm not a lawyer.
Peter is, and I liked Peter's explanation initially, which is the township looking to build on a very odd lot.
The township is looking to build nothing.
The township
an
is
individual.
approving a
We
variance.
didn't approve anything. We're hearing testimony.
Yes, yeah, the township is
considering
approving building on a very odd shaped lot, which is outside of the lot shapes and sizes within that development. It's a very
right,
odd
but that's
lot.
why this board exists for those reasons, and they have
Understood.
the jurisdiction to say yay or nay to proceed with that odd-shaped lot, with the potentially undersized lot, with the premises, it could be a hardship, so on and so forth. That's why this board is comprised of all these ladies and gentlemen up here and our professionals, and this is what we do on a monthly basis. Each application is on its own merit, and we hear and base our decisions based on that. As far as we want to hear from our attorney, if
Chairman, I'll add one more thing. Sorry to keep going with it. To council, can we come to an agreement as to what you're going to plan on there? Can we just say now, are you putting six arborvitaes, 3 white pines? Can we come up with something for the board? Because, I'm hearing the board is sort of torn whether to include it or not. But if we can just say what it is and agree on it, we can put it in the resolution and be done.
I need Frank's help with that. I think there was maybe a comment with regard to the height, but again, this was just an attempt to enhance the application, and maybe I should have just not tried to work with my neighbor, but I'll learn that lesson again, another one.
We were looking to put 5 to 6 foot tall green giants along the property line and space them at 10 foot on center.
10 foot?
10 foot on center. So this way there's plenty of room for them to grow.
I assume you're talking about planting where the area of disturbance is and not the entirety of the property line.
Correct. Within the area of the disturbance, which is approximately 100 feet.
So you'd be talking about 10 to 11 probably total arborvitae,
Yes.
5 to 6 feet tall.
Yes.
I thought it was going to our discussion was going all the way.
This is why.
Okay.
Oh.
This is well. Yeah, this is well.
Going to the area of disturbance. Once we get
What is defined as area disturbance?
the area that we're clearing.
Here, we can be done with this if you want.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ansel.
From the front of our property to the clearing in the back of our property.
You may have to interject
Where is my property on this map?
Mr. Clauser.
Your property is right here.
I think at some point
And
Yeah,
Your
I think
agreement needs to be your agreement.
I
That
think
needs
the
to be-
answer is the area of disturbance on our lot, which is essentially all of Mr. Fallon's backyard. His property, it does not go all the way back to the rear of our
This
lot.
property's 150 feet.
Yeah, you can see it
And
on the tax
Part of
map
it's
there.
wooded, based on the plan, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so if his property's 50 feet and they said roughly every 10 feet.
About 100 feet of disturbance, you know, you're 10, 12, let's say 12. 12
Something
green
like that,
giants
yeah.
roughly.
And that goes, so that will go from Sienna back to
Where we
the
stop
end of
disturbing
my-
our lot, because then the rest of the back rear portion of our lot would be left undisturbed.
I'm just trying to think of where
We
that
say a
will
maximum of
end.
15, there's 150
Maximum
foot.
of 15.
It's 150
Yeah.
foot width on your property.
Okay.
10 foot on center is 15, 16 maximum.
Maximum.
But we're not going to cut trees down to plant new trees on your property.
That's correct.
You don't want to remove trees to plant. new
That's
trees.
correct. That's correct.
So a portion of that already has trees, it looks like, based on the plan.
Understood.
Right.
Understood.
So just to be clear, a maximum of 16 trees, arborvitaes, will be planted on your property by the potential builder should this application be approved. Okay?
Understood.
As far as
Understood.
the fence, the attorney knows what has to be done with the fence and how he needs to proceed.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Just one last comment. I would it disappoints me to hear that council feels like he shouldn't have worked with me. Next time around, he won't work with a neighbor. I would hope that the board would encourage the type of behavior that he's exhibited in terms of working with me, as opposed to discouraging that. I think that's what you guys are here for in terms of looking out for residents within the community.
We will take that under advisement, but do you
Thank you.
see how many questions your private deal opened up and how
Of
many
course.
implications
That's why
and
we're
how
here for, yeah.
the needle got weaved and how we created another whole web, which
But that's
not
that's
what-
okay. That's because you know what, we have a very good community here, and we want to encourage community, and hopefully the board is looking out for the community. And that's my only point is, okay, if it tangles a little web, it's for the community. It's for the betterment of the community. And I would hope you guys
I think your
continue
question
to
was
look at it.
answered. You're gonna up to maximum of 16.
Yep.
And the fence they'll address, and they may need to come back for that. And I don't think that pertains to you. It's gonna be pertain to the applicant. Am I correct?
Yeah, we're not committing to coming back to get a variance for the applicant. If he really wants the fence and it requires a variance, then that's on Mr. Fallon. That was a commitment.
Chairman, I think for the purpose of the board, I think it's clear, Mr. Fallon will get 16, up maximum 16 evergreen trees. And I believe that's the condition, and that's it. Grading, they would have to work out if there's going to be berms, no berms. I don't know what the drainage is. That should be worked out. My recommendation to this board is that the condition is 16 evergreen trees maximum, and that's it.
I got a question,
Mr.
but that's
Lupo.
between the two property owners, right? It has nothing to do with our board and our planner.
Well, I brought that up earlier, and again, I'm gonna have Peter, our counsel, comment on that. again.
So again, you have an undersized lot. You have, as a board, could say, because it does not meet the lot frontage and lot width, that in based on that condition has created a detriment for one of the adjoining property owners or both the adjoining property owners. And in this case, you have a situation where one of the adjoining property owners has indicated that they're willing to ameliorate that condition by allowing these arborvitae to be planted on their property, in a particular location. The board could say, we think that that is appropriate based upon the undersized width and frontage of this lot. You could say, you know something? It's an undersized lot. It meets all the other bulk standards. There's really no need to buffer it any more than you'd buffer any other parcel because the setbacks are going to be whatever the setbacks would be on a conforming width. So you have the ability to look at it both ways because they've offered that as a rationale. You could adopt that rationale for granting the variance relief. You could say, we don't think it's necessary, but that's something that you have as a board, and they've given you that.
Basically, whether it's approval or disapproval, can we actually, as a board, vote on what we're here to vote on and approve? And as far as the trees and the deal between the two property owners, that's between them?
You can say, listen, we heard you. That's nice to hear. We don't care for the purposes of making our decision. Or you could say, you know something? We think that is a valid element of their proofs, and we think it should be incorporated into our resolution as a condition of approval. You have the ability to...
I know what to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any other questions? Phew. Okay, anyone, are you done?
Yeah.
I don't want to cut
Yeah.
you short.
No, it's good.
Okay,
It's good.
thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Fallon.
Thanks, Mr.
Anyone
Fallon.
else from the public wishing to be heard on this application? Seeing there's none, I make a motion to close.
Close.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, board members, we have.
I'll make a
Mr. Lupo?
motion. I'm gonna make a motion to approve, and just like I said, the particular deal between the two properties, it's up to you guys. The board don't wanna be held responsible. We're gonna vote on, I'm voting on the applicant that's before us, what we're able to vote on, and I am saying that we're gonna approve that applicant. What you guys are gonna do with the trees, it's up to you.
Thank you,
You
Mr.
don't wanna be
Lupo.
held responsible.
I'll second that.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Masters?
Just to confirm, we're stripping out the arborvitae's, right?
That's Mr. Lupo's, that is Mr. Lupo's
Yes.
proposal with what's going on. If someone has something different, then they could bring it forward, but as of now, the motion was made to approve the application as it stands, but we are not getting involved with the trees or anything of that nature.
Yes.
Okay, so that's,
Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Mr. Busman?
Yes.
Ms. Caratori? Yes. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Jaffe?
Yes.
Chairman LaFatta?
yes.
Thank you very much, board. Have a good evening.
Great. They
400 trees on. How do we say the fence? It's not even on their property. They started debating here. Then he started changing his mind with the height of the trees.
It's up to you. You guys do whatever you want to do.
We're done.
If they had said to you, listen, we're going to agree to this, he's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A little too tall for somebody.
Okay, next application, BA-5241-23557 Franklin Plaza Realty LLC. Represented by Mr. Pape.
Mr. Chairman, board members, board professionals, and public, good evening. Kenneth Pape of the firm Heilbrunn and Pape on behalf of your applicant. This is 557 Franklin Plaza Realty LLC. This is a use variance request by the applicant to use a 4,000 square foot ancillary building located on an existing shopping center's property for the fabrication of marble and granite. The application is brought by the property owner. The property owner has as a tenant in the retail building the granite fabricator marketing this product, and this would be an ancillary use to that retail operation. Before we begin, this application was read into the record at the April meeting. I believe that jurisdiction has been established, and you would confirm same on the record, sir.
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Pape is correct. The board did take jurisdiction of this application at its April meeting and did carry the notices to this meeting. The board does have jurisdiction.
This property came before this zoning board in 2003, 2006, and 2011. In 2003, the resolution indicates that the applicant came and requested permission to build a shopping center with some use variance relief, and that was granted. In 2006, the property owner came before the board and pointed out that there had been a fire in the hardware store and was asked for permission to build a storage building, and it was specifically tied to the hardware store that had a fire. This would be the storage building for what was going to be a reduced hardware store. The hardware store is gone. 2011, there was some relief requested with regard to a liquor license and a bar. This is the fourth application, and this is an existing 4,000 square foot building that sits behind the shopping center that we're asking for permission to use to fabricate the stone product. The witnesses who are here this evening to present are four. Lorelei Totten is here from Crest Engineering. It is a use variance request. It's not a site plan yet. If the board allows the use variance relief, the applicant is required to return for site plan. I've asked Lorelei to present the variance sketch to you. We'll go through certain basic elements, the existence of the buildings, the size of the buildings, and where the 4,000 square foot building is, the zoning and the size of the property, so it's all on the record. I then intend to ask Lorelei to confirm all of the elements of the site that are not changing, and we'll just put those on the record. And at that point, I would indicate that if the application progresses to site plan, there'd be a fully engineered site plan, although I don't think there'll be a lot of changes, and Lorelei would then testify. The second witness is Scott Kennel. Scott Kennel is the traffic expert. He has analyzed the available parking and will provide the testimony indicating that the building and its use can be accommodated, and still the property owner can comply with the parking requirements. There's a representative here from Michael Testa, the architect. Stacy Grodacek is an architect with Michael Testa. I did not intend to call Ms. Grodacek, but wanted her to be here just in case there were any questions from the board with regard to either the architectural elements of the building or construction elements. And the final witness is Allison Coffin, our professional planner. We're asking for a D variance, and Allison will provide that proofs. Mr. Chair and board members, we were scheduled to be here in April, and three of the professionals, including me, were unavailable in April, and you were kind enough to allow us to be carried to tonight. On Friday, my client notified me that he was not available, so I do not have the property manager here this evening. I believe that we can move forward with the applicant. We may be able to conclude, but I wanted to upfront let you know that we just learned on Friday that our client was unavailable. All of the witnesses are, and with your permission, we'll begin the presentation with Lorelei.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So we'll ask that Lorelei Totten be sworn in.
Do you swear the testimony you are going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address for record.
Sorry. Lorelei Totten, Totten, Crest Engineering Associates, 100 Reich Drive, Millstone Township, New Jersey. Bachelor of Science in 1977.
You've been here before. We'll accept your credentials.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Lorelei will testify this evening as an engineer, although there's not a lot of engineering. Lorelei, if you could identify the exhibit from which you're making your presentation.
Ms. On? Yes, thank you. This is sheet 3 of 3 from the set of plans that was submitted to you, also as shown up on the screens behind you.
Not a new exhibit, a sheet from the plan set.
Yes.
And if you could, the zone of our client's property.
It's a neighborhood commercial zone.
The existing improvements that are on it, if you could just summarize.
Yes, there's several retail buildings on the site with associated parking. There are 2 access points, one off of Union Hill Road and one off of Old Bridge Englishtown Road. There's also a building in the rear, the 4,000 square foot building that is a subject of this application. And the site is larger. Behind the site, there's wetlands and floodplains associated with the Machaponack Brook that runs through the site.
And just for the record, I'm going to go through what we're not asking the board to change to accommodate our client's use. We're not changing the signage.
Correct, no signage change.
We're not changing circulation on the site.
Correct. The circulation will remain exactly as it is and approved.
Stormwater management is not changed.
Stormwater management is not changing because there's no change in impervious cover, no grass added or no grass taken away.
But we're asking, and the 4,000 square foot building is the building that was approved by this board 20 years ago as a storage building for the hardware store, and it exists.
That is correct.
So just want to make it clear that those are elements of the site that would not change if this use were changed. I have nothing further of Lorelei. I wanted to make sure that those were before the board before we presented the traffic and planning testimony. May
Please
we
proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorelei. And Mr. Kennel, if you could join us.
Good evening. Do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you could state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
Sure. Scott.
Good catch. It's
the trick.
Scott Kennel, Kennel, with McDonough and Ray Associates, located at 1431 Lakewood Road, Manasquan.
And Mr. Chair,
sorry.
Mr. Kennel, having testified
Yes,
before...
we accept his credentials.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Been here before, sorry.
Thank you, that's fine, I appreciate that. As a traffic expert, he'll testify. Before he does, our client authorized me to make certain proffers to the board, certain facts. The operation in the 4,000 square foot building would have 4 employees. The 4 employees' hours of operation are limited to 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday to Friday. There is no fabrication on Saturday or Sunday. The retail store that exists in the shopping center, that exists for marketing, it's a showroom and retail marketing facility, is open 8 a.m. to 5, Monday to Friday, and 8 to 3 on Saturday, and there is 1 salesperson in the showroom. So I'm going to ask if you could share with us the analysis of the parking lot that you conducted, the conclusions that you have reached with regard to the adequacy of the parking.
Yes, I mean, our firm prepared a parking study. It goes back a ways, but it's June 19, 2023. And as part of that investigation, we did observations on site. We did parking accumulation studies. We consulted the municipal ordinance and consulted parking recommendations from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. And basically, the site has approximately 146 parking spaces, and those are all located west of the building or in front of the stores. Parking observations were conducted back in June of 2023, and we found a maximum of approximately 60 vehicles parked on site. I've done other observations. I did some observations after 6 p.m. where the parking accumulation was greater, around 90 vehicles, and that's attributed to the type of tenants in there that are either recreational or restaurants. But again, more than adequate parking spaces available. The ordinance requires 126 parking spaces, and again, we're providing 146, and none of the observations indicated more than 100 vehicles parked on site, so there's more than adequate parking. In consulting the ITE and utilizing their parking rates would suggest 126 parking spaces, similar to the ordinance is required, and again, we're in compliance with that. The parking required for the employees within the 4,000 square foot building generally occur behind the building, so they're not competing with the customer or employee parking that's attributed to the west side of the buildings. So taking all that in consideration, this type of use, in my opinion, will not have a negative impact. It's based on our observation, there's more than adequate parking. The parking supply proposed exceeds the ordinance and exceeds parking supply recommended by the Institute of Transportation Engineers.
Mr. Kennel, it's my understanding that In 2006, when the applicant came before the board, there were 156 parking stalls, and that the board permitted a 4,000 square foot building. And it's my understanding that that building and now the outdoor storage of the slabs of granite and marble consume 10 parking stalls. The loss of those 10 parking stalls is behind the building. In your professional opinion, does the loss of those 10 parking stalls resulting in the 146 that you just described in any way create a negative parking condition on the site?
No, in my opinion, that does not create a negative situation. There's more than ample parking on site to serve the tenant that's before us, as well as the other tenants within the shopping center.
So the space that's consumed by the building and the space that's consumed by the outdoor storage of the slabs of stone confined to those 10 parking stalls does not have a negative impact?
Correct.
I think I don't have any further questions of Mr. Kennel. That is the impact on the parking field. Please available. Now we're at the conclusion. Next witness.
Yes, please.
Very fine.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair and members of the board, know that there is an architect here that's prepared to answer any questions about the building. If there are any, I believe that talking about the building would be something that occurs at site plan, but we did come with an architect if there was a question. So with your permission, I'd like to go right to Allison Coffin, who is our planner, and ask that she identify the relief that we're asking of this board and the proofs that are necessary to support it.
Good evening. If you could raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
If you could state your name, so your last name, and give us your address.
Allison Coffin, Coffin. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm also certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners.
We'll accept your credentials. You've been here before.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Allison, I'm going to ask if you would, for the record, to share with the board how you prepared to present this application, and then if you could take us through the necessary proofs that the applicant must address in order for the board to be empowered to grant the relief requested.
Sure. To prepare for tonight, I looked at the application materials. I visited the site, reviewed the zoning ordinance and the master plan and the professional review letters. The subject property is located at the northeast corner of Old Bridge Englishtown Road and Union Hill Road. It's 7.82 acres in size, and it's zoned neighborhood commercial, with a portion along the eastern boundary located in the Flood Hazard Conservation District. And the site's fully developed with an existing shopping center, the Franklin Plaza. It consists of 3 one-story retail commercial buildings, a surface parking lot, and that 4,000 square foot building in the rear, which is the subject of this application. The surrounding area includes the Old Bridge Englishtown Road with commercial and residential uses, mostly to the north and west, Union Hill Road to the south, and undeveloped land associated with Machaponix Brook to the east, and the gun club beyond that. The eastern boundary of the property, which is where this building is located, is buffered by the Machaponix Brook, its wetlands, and associated conservation easement areas, which effectively screen and separate the rear of this site from the nearest residential properties to the east that are beyond the brook on the other side of the gun club. The applicant is requesting a use variance to permit the marble and granite fabrication business to operate within that 4,000 square foot pole barn. This pole barn is located at the rear of the site. It's behind the retail buildings, and it's not highly visible from the public roadway. The structure was approved for construction in 2006 and was restricted at that time to being used mostly for storage. The applicant's also seeking relief to permit the associated outdoor storage of the raw granite and marble slabs to the north of the pole barn, which is a necessary operational component of the fabrication business. No new construction is proposed. The applicant concerns only existing conditions and an existing tenant. The tenant operates under a lease agreement that occupies 2 spaces in Franklin Plaza. It has that pole barn to the rear for the fabrication, but that is associated with a retail space in the front that functions as a showroom for the business. The 2 components of the tenant's occupancy function as an integrated whole. Customers come to the showroom in the main building to select materials and place orders. The slabs are stored outdoors, awaiting fabrication, and the actual cutting, edging, and finishing of the stone would take place inside the pole barn. Finished countertops are then delivered or picked up. The showroom and fabrication facility are the 2 parts of a single business and are not commercially viable without each other. The site is located, again, in that neighborhood conservation zone, a commercial zone. The permitted uses in the zone include retail stores of a neighborhood or daily needs type, personal service establishments, eating and drinking, banks, business and professional offices. The showroom is a permitted aspect of the use, but the fabrication in that rear building is not permitted in the zone, so a D1 use variance is required for that. And the outdoor storage is also not permitted. It's an accessory use for this, but it may also require a D variance or could be considered as part of the D1 variance for the fabrication use. The site, there's no bulk changes that trigger new bulk relief, and it's generally conforming with the zoning bulk standards. So looking at that use variance, it's my opinion that special reasons do exist for the granting of this variance, and that the site is particularly suited to the proposed uses, and there's no significant detriment to the zone plan or the surrounding properties that would result from these variances. Looking first at the special reasons concept for this integrated showroom and light fabrication use on the site, the subject site is already developed as a functioning retail shopping center. The showroom component is the permitted use in the zone, and the fabrication component is the production side of that same business. Separating them is possible, but it's inefficient, and granting the variance simply recognizes the full reality of a use that is appropriately anchored to the site by its permitted retail component. The structure that's at the rear of the site was built for exactly an ancillary contained use to a retail use on the site. Its location is behind the retail buildings, it's screened from the roadway and buffered on the east side by the brook and its associated wetlands. It makes it particularly appropriate for a light industrial fabrication operation that is associated with the permitted showroom. It would not be more appropriate on a more exposed or less buffered site. The fabrication use itself is quiet. It generates limited truck traffic, it produces no significant noise audible beyond the structure, and it involves no uses that would be incompatible with the surrounding commercial context. The board would consider that outdoor slab storage as part of this D1 variance. The outdoor storage of raw stone slabs is functionally necessary for fabrication businesses. It's typical of this type of use, and it's located at the rear area of the site, which is not visible to the roadway. Furthermore, it's my opinion that this use advances purpose G of the municipal land use law in that it provides adequate space in an appropriate location for a commercial and fabrication use. The custom countertop business with its integrated showroom and fabrication facility is precisely the kind of commercial use that benefits from being co-located in a retail shopping center. It serves the township residents and draws customers who may patronize other tenants within the center as well. The next prong of the use variance test is whether or not there's detrimental impact, and it's my opinion that in this unique situation there would not be. The fabrication use itself does not generate significant traffic, noise, odors, or pollution. All fabrication activity is contained within that structure, and the outdoor storage is of stable materials that have no environmental risk. The site is large and well buffered. The retail building and parking fields screen that structure from the roadways, and the brook and its wetlands screen the rear of the site from any residential properties on the east side. The nearest residential uses are therefore effectively buffered by natural features, and the existing parking supply, which is the real impact that this could have on site, is more than sufficient to accommodate the combined demand of the existing retail center and this fabrication use. The fabrication use itself, that aspect of the use, generates limited customer traffic, as clients would mainly be visiting the showroom, not the fabrication building. The last test is whether or not the variances would substantially impair the intent and purpose of your master plan and zoning ordinance. And here, the proposed use would not, in my opinion, substantially impair the purpose of the neighborhood commercial zone. It's intended to serve the needs of the surrounding community. The integrated countertop showroom and fabrication business does exactly that. It provides a locally accessible service for residential customers that are undertaking kitchen and bath renovations. So to sum up, it's my opinion that the D1 use variance that is requested can be granted by the board. The site's particularly suited to the use. There's no significant detriment to the public, and it's not substantially inconsistent with your master plan or development ordinance.
Mr. Chair, board members, that concludes the direct presentation of the applicant's professionals. All three of those professionals are now available to the board and your professionals for examination.
Okay. Chris?
Thank you. We issued a report dated January 21st of this year. I have just a couple of quick questions. Apologize if I missed this, but this, the fabrication space in the back in the 4,000 square foot former storage building, this isn't something, the public doesn't go there, right? This is just for the employees somebody goes to the showroom and they say, I want, X amount of square feet of granite countertop, and then they go cut it for them eventually.
Correct.
So it's not generating any retail traffic. Okay.
None.
I wasn't sure if that was said or not, but I wanted to make sure that's clear. 'Cause you had testimony about traffic, but if no one's going there, it seems pretty clear you're not increasing the traffic other than whenever the trucks go. Quick question for the planner. I mean, this is a very unique circumstance. I don't think I've ever seen a retail strip mall shopping center like this that has a storage facility in the back like this. In your opinion, do you see that space as being in any way viable or feasible to be used as like another retail space or a restaurant?
Oh, no.
So it's, if this use doesn't go into, the only other real possible use for this building, which already legally exists on the site, would be either storage as it was before, or for something like this that is an accessory to one of the permitted retail uses?
Yes.
Okay. And then you are deferring site plan issues?
Yeah, I listened to the hot dogs guy. We're not the hot. We have a building, lighting, striping. There's a number of things that we should be talking to the board about as part of, if the board granted the.
Then I don't think I have any additional questions or comments. It's the use variance, and you've had testimony. It's a very unique circumstance of having an existing pole barn behind a strip mall.
Thank you, Chris. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To clarify, you will be coming back for site plan if you get an approval tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's real site plan issues to talk about with the board.
So, Mr. Chair, my letter is dated February 26, 2026. Mainly my items are site plan comments. There is one, there's vehicles for sale on the site, your plan shows. You're not seeking a variance to sell vehicles.
No, there were vehicles for sale on the site. This application's been going on now for 3 years. It's my understanding that when that first was brought to our client's attention, that they immediately stopped any sale of vehicles. I don't think there's been any sale of vehicles for a long time.
Right, that would need to be stopped because there's no previous approvals for that.
No.
Thanks.
That was, and it wasn't the property owner, it was tenants who were putting their cars out front. So we told them.
Okay, so they'll be removed. I'll just touch on a couple things. So these are site plan comments. You have dumpsters all over in the rear of the building. I'm going to look for that to be cleaned up if it gets approved here tonight. The outdoor storage of the marble and quartz and countertops, what is that stored for? Do people come there and they pick out their slab of marble? How does the operation work?
They don't go to the slabs. The samples are in the showroom, and they view the samples in the showroom. The slabs are very heavy, and they're loaded. They're offloaded from the truck into it's a crib, and then when someone places an order, the slab is then brought inside the fabrication space, and they actually cut and polish the stone there.
So all the public will be going in. I know everyone has said showroom, but the plan doesn't show it as a showroom. It's noted as an office.
No, that's in the build, but one of the storefronts in the building is.
Correct. It's noted as an office on the plan.
Oh,
That's why I want to get that clarified.
There's a small office. That's the sales office, and then there's the rest of it's a showroom. I was there this evening. It's a showroom, and then there's the sales office.
So to clarify, in the storefront where it says office for workshop and storage building, that's actually a showroom.
It's a showroom and a sales area.
Thank you.
Yes. A handsome one.
And let's see. The other thing is these, again, where the storage of the slabs is, and at the time of site plan, I'm going to look to see how do we keep that area confined to where you show it so it doesn't start to grow and take up more parking spots and loading spots. So things to consider should you get approved tonight. And the last thing, should you get approved, you need to secure building permits and a certificate of occupancy from our township construction department. I believe you have electric in this building, you have plumbing in the building, which again wasn't part of the original approval, so you'll need to secure all those permits.
Understood.
Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you. Before we go any further, how long have they been operating there now, doing granite?
Mr. Chair, I was hired about 3.5 years ago, and shortly after that, we filed the application with the board, and it has gone through a series of reviews by your staff. But I don't know when it was before I was hired, but about 3.5 years.
So when you were hired at that point, was it already established and they were in business already? Is that correct?
Mr. Bevins was the one who brought to their attention that what they were doing was not permitted. I met with Mr. Bevins at the site, and the direction was, you've got to get in front of the zoning board. This is not the way this building was approved. The approval was for storage related to the hardware store.
Okay. Well, just for the record, I did clear it with the attorney. I purchased granite from those folks back in 2021. So they've been doing business for a while in that building. I'm glad to see they're coming forward and they're looking to clean it up and go the proper channel, but they have been there in existence running a business. Does any board members have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Busman?
Turn your mic on.
There it is. So this is originally a storage facility and it's been used as such, or supposed to have been used as such, and it's always been a fabrication facility in addition to the showroom in the front. Is that correct?
Mr. Busman, I don't have all of the history other than what I can find in the records and from the property owner. 2006, the 4,000 square foot building was approved by this board as a storage building related to a retail facility that was in the shopping center. So there was and somewhere along the line,
Something happened, right. So my question is, to me, this is a light manufacturing or light industrial request for use of that property, that building, which makes it an unconforming condition for the site, because the site is supposed to be a storage facility, not a manufacturing facility. To me, again, when they're cutting marble, there's dust particles. Dust particles may or may not be combustible. Based on that, I would need a fire report to determine whether or not this facility would be sufficient without any additional ventilation to it to accommodate this type of operation. So I don't see right now where this is going.
we recognize that as we would need construction permits, and we would need all the construction permits would require that all aspects of the building's construction be approved by your construction department. We can so stipulate.
Well, why would you come to the board when it is an existing condition approved and now want to make it an industrial facility? I don't get it.
I think that there may have been a misunderstanding with the property owner when they did this.
That's on the property owner, not for us to consider.
No, what we're asking you to consider is the appropriateness of this fabrication facility, which is ancillary to the retail operation in the center. That's what we're asking.
Mm-hmm. I will say one thing. Nothing else would fit and be suitable behind there. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm voicing my personal opinion. Nothing would be suitable to be back there other than what's back there currently. Correct. I've been back there. All the stores keep all their dumpsters behind there. It's not a place where anyone is going to do business. Just so everyone knows. Question, Mr. Liu?
Indulge me. You already answered this, but I'm going to ask it again. Because I've been at these places. You could pick out your marble slab with specific veining. You actually point to the one you want. They're not going to allow that, right? That's very dangerous.
We're stipulating that there's no customer activity permitted in the back of the building. They're confined to the retail space.
That's it.
Yeah.
For the record as well, I went to a granite place and picked out my slab, and then it was delivered. They strictly fabricated for me. I did need to go there to pay for it, though. I will tell you that. They didn't have a storefront at the time. You know, I went into the building and I paid the people, but I did have to go to an outside place to get my granite. Any other questions from any board members? Seeing there's none, I'll open this to the public. Anyone in the public wishing to be heard on this application, please come forward. Seeing there's no one from the public, I make a motion, or I need a motion to close the public portion. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, board members, you have an application before us.
I'll make a motion.
Yes, Mr. Buster.
Deny.
Do I have a second? If there's no second, if anyone wants to move in a different direction, please speak now.
I'll make a motion to approve this applicant.
Okay, so Mr. Busman, is there a reason for your denial? So it's on the record in case it
My
doesn't.
reason is as stated, and the stenographer took that down. My reason being, I don't believe this is an approved operation for the site, and that it's a light industry or manufacturing facility and should not be allowed behind a retail establishment.
Okay, board members, first of all, we need a second on the denial. Do we have a second? Seeing there's none, I don't think that motion can move forward. We have a motion for an approval. Do I have a second on the approval?
Second.
Mr. Lupo, second. Unfortunately, Mr. Busman, no one endorsed your denial of the application.
Fine.
Okay, so we do have a motion to approve and a second. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Mr. Busman?
No.
Ms. Caratori? Yes. Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Jaffe?
Yes.
Chairman LaFata?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman and all board members, thank you all, and good night.
Good night.
We'll return with the site plan.
I don't
Okay, board members, we have some memorializations to do. We have application BA 5260-25, Mohit Construction and Renovations. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Well, Matt, you want to do a roll call or just all in favor? Roll call? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Ms. Caratori? Wasn't here.
Right, Gary and she wasn't here.
Yeah, we were both, I also can.
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Jaffe?
Yes.
Chairman LaFata?
Yes. Okay, board members, application BA-5259-25, Jonathan DePiero. Do I have a motion to approve the memorialization?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi?
Yes.
Mr. Jaffe?
Yes.
Chairman LaFata?
Yes. Board members, we have application BA-5092-14, Joaquim M. Fernandez LLC. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Mr. Tanzi? Yes. Mr. Jaffe?
Yes.
Chairman LaFata?
Yes. Board members, any discussion items? Good. Anyone in the public wishing to be heard, come forward. Please come forward.
George Gunkelman, 5 Kelly Court, Monroe. Mr. Chairman, a couple of the neighboring towns have recently dealt with applications for data centers and struggled with the absence of ordinances to put limits and controls over them. And basically what I'm asking, I don't know if it's appropriate for the zoning board to appeal to the council to create some ordinances that would give you the tools you would need to have the appropriate controls over those kinds of applications. It particularly applies to water and electric usage, which are on a tremendous scale. particularly the water, could be enormously disruptive to any town's supply. So just throwing it out there for you, if you, I don't know what the appropriate thing is. I probably will raise the same matter in the same way to council at the next meeting. But it would, if you feel you need some tools in order to have appropriate controls over those kinds of applications, it would probably be better heard coming from you than from just one member of the public. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? A motion to close the public portion? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any correspondences? Seeing none, I need a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.
Were you wrong? Well, you're right.